It is the budget before ballot. It is the final budget of Modi 2.0 government before the elections in April and May. Expectations are high. Whether there is political and fiscal elbow room to fulfill those expectations, we don't know. But let's roll out our conveyor belt on our Stipe camera, 3D camera, to get you a sense of what the expectations are as far as various sectors are concerned. Let's start, of course, with agriculture, and the expectation there is some degree of subsidies for machinery and storage facilities. Remember, agriculture has been a bit of a bugbear. The farm laws had to be withdrawn. Whether or not 2 months before an election the government bites that bullet, unlikely. Let's go across to the next one. Expectation as far as infrastructure, and this is one area that the Modi government has done exemplarily well. Higher allocation for railways and roads, 10 lakh crores last year's allocation for capex, but will that be increased in an election year? We will wait and see. Also, let's go to the next sector and what the expectation is as far as the sector of education is concerned. Remember, the Modi government is trying to change the very framework of education in the country, the national education framework. Higher allocation for NEP is an expectation in this sector. Let's move on to the next one. And this is, of course, in the field of health, where the expectation is higher allocation for R&D and accessibility. Can we get to what is the developed sort of model of 3% or 4% of GDP allocation for health? Whether or not we'll get there, let's wait and watch. And the final one is in the field of banking. And this is again an area, because of the banking and insolvency code, where the government has done well. One area of concern has been on privatization. Public sector banks, there is no clarity on which of these public sector banks are getting chosen for disinvestment, for privatization. So these are the various expectations as far as the government is concerned from various sectors. But let me go across to both Gaurav Chaudhary and to Nalin Mehta, get a sense of, like I said, all right, Nirmala Sitharaman's first pictures are coming out. She's leaving her residence. Like I said, it's a wet and chilly morning in Delhi. She will be now headed straight to North Block, where she will emerge with what is called the Bahi Khata, or the Book of Accounts. And then from there, she will head to Rashtrapati Bhavan. She will present a copy of the budget to the president. And then in the Lok Sabha at 10 a.m., there will be the customary cabinet meeting, which will, of course, ratify the budget. And then she will present that in the Lok Sabha. So, Gaurav, just a word on, whether there is political and fiscal elbow room. That's a different conversation altogether. But on one of the areas the government has done well is infrastructure spending. I mean, you can see it in the highways, the number of kilometers per road, road per kilometers that are being paved every single day and so on. In this budget, do you expect her to top the 10 lakh crores, or there's going to be guidance for the fiscal year 24-25
without doubt
to be higher than 10 lakh crores?
One of the standout characteristics of this government's macroeconomic management over the last 10 years there have been two standout characteristics. One is it has walked the talk on fiscal consolidation, regardless of the fact that there are two big, huge pandemic years. So when our fiscal deficit went up to 9%, now it has come down to about 5.9%. And it has set a medium-term target of 4.5% by 25-26. So if it has to meet that target, then this year, that is in 24-25, whether it's in the interim budget or in the full budget when it's present in July, that has to come down by 70 basis points. And I would not be surprised if she actually pencils in about 5.2% of fiscal deficit this year, because the government on its commitment on fiscal deficit, it has been unwavering. And so far as capital expenditure is concerned, it has started, and last year we saw how it went up by 33% to 10 lakh crore. It will obviously go up, but albeit at a slower pace. So I would not expect it to go up by 33% because the base has gone up significantly, but it's going to remain steadfast on its focus on capital expenditure, because the government, as Gautam said, the government believes that infrastructure is going to be the primary economic multiplier. It unleashes economic multipliers, and the government is going to do the heavy lifting there. If the government does heavy lifting, then the crowding in phenomenon, where private sector investment actually comes in, is going to set in at some point in time. There was some mention on Narega. Now, if you look at the Narega spending, it's very interesting. Barring 2021 and 21-22, where it went up to 1 lakh crore, that was the COVID year, 1,11,000 crore, then came down to 98,000 crore, and 22-23 it came down to 89,000 crore. Last year, it has been brought down to 60,000 crore. The ostensible reason probably could be that the government wants people to actually move out of guaranteed government-funded job schemes to private sector created job schemes in areas outside of the villages, because essentially people who are seeking jobs in Narega schemes are landless laborers. So these landless laborers will have to come out of the villages, and that can come only when the government invests a lot in infrastructure projects, because that creates jobs. But on infrastructure, it's very interesting. The investment in infrastructure, particularly highways, have gone up significantly since, just to give you some numbers, 2019-20 National Highway Authority of India and roadworks, the total budget was 77,983 crore. In B 23-24, it has gone up to 2,69,920 crore. And that's a massive jump. And large part of the capital expenditure clearly is going towards this. So what is the government doing? The government is saying that if I have to borrow, I'll borrow it on asset creation rather than on funding it on current expenses. And that's, I think, very good, prudent public finance management.
It's also a good time to bring in Nilesh Shah, member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council and also Managing Director at Kotak Mutual Fund, and Saket Mishra, economist and investment banker, is also joining us. Nilesh Shah ji, it is an interim budget at the end of the day. It is also the last budget before the general election, which is due in a couple of months. What sort of elbow room do you reckon, as we see the pictures of the Finance Minister leaving from her residence to North Block, what sort of fiscal elbow room do you believe the Finance Minister has? There are vote banks to cater to, and at the same time, there is a fiscal glide path that she needs to stick by.
Fiscal expansion is limited. India gets differentiated versus its peer group because of the prudent policies it follows. This year, tax revenue is higher than budgeted estimate, but divestment receipt is lower than budgeted estimate. More importantly, nominal GDP growth, the denominator on which fiscal deficit is calculated, is likely to be lower than the budgeted estimate because of the inflation deflator. More importantly, we have committed to the world that there will be fiscal consolidation by FY26. And as the previous panelist was speaking, we have to show glide paths to the world in terms of fiscal consolidation. It is going to be a tough mathematics, but if we focus on two areas, the asset monetization, as you mentioned, India is creating infrastructure investment at rapid pace. What we built between 2014 and 24 in infrastructure is almost double what was existing in 2013. Now it is time to monetize this asset so that we can create fiscal room. And second is divestment. Irrespective of what market condition is, bull, bear, no government has ever achieved divestment target. I think if we put little effort over there, we should be able to achieve our divestment target. And between asset monetization and divestment, we can create necessary elbow room for fiscal space.
All right. The Finance Minister has just reached North Block. She will, of course, be speaking with her colleagues, both the secretaries and, of course, the MOSs there inside North Block, after which they will all come out. She will, of course, show the copy of the Bahi Khata to the waiting press persons there and then head straight to Rashtrapati Bhavan, where she will present a copy of the budget to the President of India. And then after that, she will head to Parliament. The Cabinet will meet at 10 a.m. in the morning, and the Cabinet will give its stamp of approval for the budget. Let me try and see if we can go across to one of our reporters who's in North Block. Pallavi is there. Pallavi, just walk us through. The Finance Minister has just arrived there at North Block. What happens here on?
So just to give you a sense of where I'm standing, I mean, in this rain also, she just walked inside the Finance Ministry, and what she's going to do is she's just going to go up. The MOS Finance, Mr. Pankaj Chaudhary, was already over here, Finance Secretary, Revenue Secretaries, all of them, and you can see that office right up there, which we are showing you. That's exactly where the Finance Minister's office also is. So she's going to be sitting there for a couple of minutes, and then around 9 a.m. was a time which has been given to us, where you're going to see pictures of her climbing down. She's going to be standing over here, right where you're seeing, with the entire team. They have been working round the clock over the last 1 month, and as I reported earlier, completely incommunicado till the budget is presented and tabled in both the houses. And from here she goes across to Rashtrapati Bhavan, right over here. You can see that it's a short drive for her. She goes to Rashtrapati Bhavan, presents a copy of the budget, or the vote on account as it's called, to the Rashtrapati, and then heads back to Parliament, where on the steps of the new Parliament building you're going to be seeing her presenting the budget. And this is going to be the first budget in the new Parliament building. So there are lots of landmarks really associated with the new Parliament building. And then there's going to be a mandatory cabinet briefing or meeting rather, which takes place. That's where that's the technicality. The vote on account or slash the budget is approved by the cabinet, and then at 11 a.m. sharp, she stands up to present the last budget or vote on account of this government before the elections.